Welcome to Let's Go Outside, a podcast bringing moms together to chat about the raw, unfiltered reality of doing the exploring we love after having kids. No matter your comfort level of adventuring with the little ones, this is a space to have honest conversations about the real struggles of getting out the door with the kiddos. I'm Danica, a mama living in a small mountain town who's totally obsessed with healthy food and taking my kids outside every single day. I professionally guided backpacking trips in the Canadian Rockies, and I'm certified as a Leave No Trace instructor. On the show, you'll hear real experiences from other moms, plus tips on gear, trail snacks, and the best practices in the wilderness. Whether it's hiking, camping, backpacking, skiing, or traveling the world you want to do more of, this is your place to learn, find encouragement, and strip away any comparison. Come embrace both motherhood and the outdoors. Stick around. This is your place. Welcome to the Outdoor Mom Club. Welcome. Today I have Meghan Oosterhof on the podcast with me. I met Meghan at summer camp. She has led a lot of programs here and she has 5 beautiful girls. And I've been so impressed by her ability to parent and just check in and be so calm and collected and just giving them direction, but also like seamlessly being present with people that she's with and just having good tabs on her kids. And I'm just so impressed by that. So I'm thankful to have her on the show today. And I know that you guys are going to love hearing from her because she is brilliant. So thank you for coming, Meghan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell us the scoop. Tell us about your family and how you guys, how you got into adventuring and exploring.
Yeah, so like you said, I have 5 girls. So my oldest are 14. My oldest are twin 14-year-olds. And I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So it's a really fun time all the time. It's just like always a party. And it's been lots of fun in all the stages, but I'm just like really loving the stage that they are right now. They're a bit more independent, they're a bit more able to do things, and it's just a really fun time to hang out with them. I have always loved being outside and doing things outside. And one cool thing that I remembered when I was thinking about this podcast is so when I was a kid, I was homeschooled, and now I'm currently homeschooling my kids. And in the spring, we stopped doing school on Fridays and we started doing these things called Friday hikes. And every Friday we would go for a hike like it was named. And my mom would organize it. And there was a few other families that usually came, but it's just like integrated right into our life that every Friday we just went on a hike. So we just went out. We live in Calgary, so we went out to Kananaskis usually, Bragg Creek, anywhere close. Went for a hike in the mountains, had a picnic, came back home, didn't do schoolwork. So I feel like it's been like ingrained in me my whole life, being outside, growing up, did lots of things outside. And then when I was an older teenager, loved doing lots of scrambling and backpacking. I met my husband at summer camp. And we did lots of hiking and things together when we met each other and when we were first married. And then even when I was pregnant with the twins, I was really sad because I was pregnant in the summer and I really wanted to climb a mountain. And Mike was like, okay, I'll get you up a mountain. So he took me up the Gondola in Banff to the top of Sulphur mountain. And so I got to peak a mountain when I was very pregnant, and they were born like a week later. So even up the gondola. And then there's like a tiny walk. I wouldn't call it a hike from there, but got to the top of the mountains. Love being outside, love doing all sorts of things with our kids outside and adventuring with them.
I love that. That's so cool. Did Mike grow up hiking also?
He did some hiking, but he grew up on the farm, so he did lots of stuff outside all the time around the farm. And then hiking, he was outside of Lethbridge, so did a bit more like Waterton area. And then we met in the Crow's Nest Pass at Crow's Nest Lake Bible Camp there.
Yes, I love that. Okay, let's jump into talking about the twins and when they were babies. I want to hear about I love that story that you went up the gondola. So what did that look like after they came out of the womb? Did you take a break from adventuring for a season or make smaller adventures? What did that look like?
Yeah, so the twins were born. And there was definitely a break from us doing like all the same things we did together just as a couple. We didn't do as much like scrambles, just the two of us, a lot as much when they were first born, but tried to get outside a bunch with them. So it often looked like a lot smaller things. So there was a grocery store down the street from the house that we lived in when they were first born. So we would walk to the grocery store and grab stuff for supper. We would just like hang out in the backyard. So I would try to get outside with them or even not with them most days. And then bigger trips we didn't do as much of in that time. And then by the time the twins were 9 months old, I was pregnant again. So it was kind of a wild time where we didn't do a whole lot. And I honestly, it was like such a roller coaster. I don't remember like a lot of stuff from that season. But I think one of the biggest things that helped us get outside was having a great stroller with like big wheels, not small wheels. So we had a dual stroller, so both the babies could go in there and we could go walking, and we could go walking on trails or on paved things or anything like that. And then we had some like carrier backpacks as well, but those we didn't use as much until they were a bit older and we had 3 babies. And I have this like distinct memory of this one time we really wanted to go for a hike with all 3 babies, but there's only 2 of us. So my brother came with us, and all 3 of us had like a kid carrier with a baby. I don't even remember where we went, but it was just like it felt so good to get out to the mountains and do something, even though it was a lot of work. But it's like we needed to have like a third adult there with us to get out with these like 3 babies essentially, because the twins were like 1.5 when my third was born. But so there was definitely like discouraging times in those first couple years where I felt like I wanted to be able to do things. I wanted to be able to go out on a scramble or climb or do something bigger, but also just like was okay with doing smaller things, and it felt good just to get outside, just to sit outside with the babies instead of sitting inside and getting some fresh air. And we do have lots of great people around us that help us a lot. So especially my parents would take the kids for, once they were a little older, they would take them for like an overnight so Mike and I could go like do a bigger hike or do things like that. So yeah.
That's so good. I love that you remember the hike with the girls still, and it's like a positive memory. Like you might not remember all the details, and it's not like you remember some horrible part of it. You like remember that it was good and you did it.
Yeah. It's just like we got out there, and it
Yeah.
always feels good like when they were little, and even now with them older, like the work to get out on like bigger things, it always feels like a lot. And then you do it and you're like, that was so good. We got outside. We got out to the mountains and did something.
It's so true. I feel that all the time.
Yeah.
And so as they started walking and started talking and you had more babies, do you want to share how that looked like for your family?
Yeah. So we had all 5 in like 5.5 years about. So then we kind of had like 2 6-year-olds, 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn when we had all of them. So it was kind of like this crazy time, but it was so good. We did a lot of like shorter hikes, like out in the mountains or just like walks in Calgary. At that time, we were living at a house with a playground across the street, which was so great because it makes like a short trip so easy. We'll trip
Mm-hmm.
generously, but like we could just go to the park for like 20 minutes even. And we still had the same stroller. It was like the Bob Dooley. So it's a dual stroller, but it's kind of like a triangle shape. And I could get all 5 kids on the stroller when we needed to. So we had a zoo membership at the time, and we would do lots of zoo trips because it's just like fun place to walk around, see animals, and they have great playgrounds. But we would like do the zoo and walk all the way across, and everyone would be tired. And then I would load everyone on the stroller. So there'd be like a baby and a toddler on the seats. And then one kid could like sit in front of them. And then 2 could like stand on the bar with their heads like in front of the handlebars. And we would just like trek back. But it was like so good to be able to like, all right, everyone pile on, and I can get you all back to the vehicle after they were all like done. So it could be like a miserable walk back, but we just like piled everybody on.
You're like, I have a system for this. We have an
I got
exit
lots of,
plan.
yes, that was always good. It was like, even if I get across the zoo and everyone's falling apart, I can give them all a cracker and I can get them all in the stroller and I can get home, grab myself a drive-through caffeine on the way home, and we'll make it. So we did lots of time like playground across the street or like walks around our area. And we would try to go like camping in the baby years when we are having babies. We tried to go camping like at least like one long weekend a year was like our like, if we can get this done, this is good. Because it felt like a lot with babies. You're right in there, like if they'll sleep or what, if everyone's going to stay warm, if someone's just going to cry all night, or yeah, all the things. So did that like car camping in Kananaskis.
Do you remember much sleep on those trips?
I remember, so I used to like not sleep great because we didn't have amazing sleeping mattresses, like camping mattresses. And then if kids were up, I would always be up or like nursing a kid or getting a kid back to sleep. And I would usually get a cold, like get sick after every camping trip. But then we bought a way better, like super bougie camping mattress. And now, so then when the kids sleep, at least I get a good sleep and it's way better. So treat yourself to a nice camping mattress.
The kids don't care what they sleep on, I feel like.
No, the kids were just on like foamies or whatever. And then we bring their sleeping bags and like a heap of blankets. But I couldn't cut it quite.
Yeah.
I did find like having recurring events helps me like stay consistent with getting outside and it to be kind of exciting. So just like I mentioned the like Friday hikes that my mom did, I started doing, we called it Mondays in the Mountains in the spring. And I would post it to like a group of people who wanted to get out, and we would have a time that we would meet out there. And it just helped me have like accountability to make it consistent, to get outside, to go for a little hike with all of them. They were usually like super short ones, but it was really fun. And other little things, even like yearly traditions, like every spring when the crocuses start growing, we go on a little walk by the river valley in Calgary, and I'll look for crocuses like right when they're popping up. And it's just fun to have things that like recur like that it's like, oh, well, I guess we'll go out on our crocus hunt, or it's Monday, so I guess we go to the mountains. And because there's always like an easy reason to not. There's always other things you have to do or get done. And so I think especially when they're really little, it helped me to have like establish these like routines or traditions that made us like go out more. And I think it was also important to sometimes get out without the kids. So after Mike would get home from work, if I could go for a walk around the block, or if someone was watching them, him and I had a day to ourselves, we often like go hike up a mountain or something. And it was nice to like do more challenging and bigger stuff and still enjoy being outside. We really loved being outside with our kids, but it was also fun to be outside and enjoy it without them sometimes. And I know hiking with like little ones and toddlers, I always found like choosing activities or hikes or things like the zoo or things like that are really like interesting, so they can like always have something to look forward to. Even if we're on a walk, it's like a walk with a bunch of bridges, or like it's like just get to the next bridge, because as soon as they're bored, they're tired and they don't want to keep going. So
That's a great point.
they're like,
so true.
yeah, bored kids are tired kids. But if it's like get to the next thing or the next animal at the zoo, or we can walk to the playground or something, they like having like those like short destinations or landmarks that they can get to.
That's so good. I love those built-in kind of routines or milestones throughout the year that you talked about. And I think the cool thing is you start it when they're little and might have to do it in the little years, but then they buy into it and then they're the ones pulling you out the door. I feel that way even just with a 4-year-old now, just him like Koa saying like, oh, but you mentioned like we were going to go paddleboarding again today. And that's not necessarily like a routine, but like, you know, when you say something out loud and then they're like, I'm going to hold you to this. And I think
Yes.
that's so fun.
Yeah. Or sometimes they're like, aren't we going to do this? And it's like, oh yeah, I guess we are. It's like, isn't it time for this or that? Or it's like, don't we do this every month? Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. Tell us about how it's going these days with some teenagers. And how old is Paisley, your youngest now?
She's 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 8 to 14 now. And
yeah,
tell us about how this season is going, if you guys are all interested in the same things or how you approach that.
Yeah, so I find this season we do less casual things like go to the zoo all together or go to the playground all together, because we're a bit more busy with like commitments. All the kids play soccer. They have youth groups they go to, the older 3, and we have school we have to get done. But we do a lot more like I just send them outside a lot. So almost every day they either have to be outside or be active in some way. So if they have soccer in the winter, sometimes they don't go outside those days because they're going to go run around even though it's inside. So usually, yeah, they have to be outside or active, and it's just like not an option. It's like, all right, everybody outside, but I don't always go outside with them anymore. They just go out in the yard and they'll run around, or we have a little bit of a hill. So right now it's sledding down the hill because it just snowed. Sometimes they help in the garden in the summer, or they just play whatever they come up with. Everyone enjoys like doing things outside. They don't always want to go outside. Sometimes it's like, but once they're outside, they almost always love it. But I think that's true, like, for me too, as an adult. Like, I know I like it, but sometimes I'm like, I think I'll just sit in here. But it's like, I feel so much better. Even if I'm just gonna like sit, I can sit outside when it's nice out at least. I don't love it when it's cold.
Yeah,
it always feels good to get out there
with our coffee, shivering.
Yeah, it's a different vibe, but everyone feels better after they've been outside, I find, and they get along great in general outside. There is a bit more now of like different levels of like intensity that they can handle for bigger things. So we did take just our older 2, they were 13 at the time, last summer, and did West Coast Trail with just the 2 of them, and that was really fun. We started a tradition, so on their 13th birthday, like the year they turned 13, we do like a big trip with them with something that they're really interested in. So they were really feeling into backpacking, so we did West Coast Trail, but it wasn't something that we could have done with all 5 of them. So sometimes now we kind of have to like split them up a bit more. But there's lots of things that we can still all do together that we really enjoy. We all like skiing, so we go skiing together. Although we often like split up on the hill, but we'll meet up for some runs and for lunch and stuff like that. They all do enjoy like still like going on hikes or walks or bike rides, but like currently pretty busy with like soccer schedules, so those don't happen quite as often, but we do try to get outside like pretty casually. And it's nice now, I don't have to like bundle up every single one of them. And oh man, one of my things that it just bugs me so much is tucking their winter mitts into their jacket sleeves. It's about it. It's like you do it and then they like pull them off to fix a zipper and you have to do it again. It's like, But it's funny, even like yesterday, my 12-year-old came over to me like super sheepishly. She's like, Mom, can you tuck my mitt into my jacket? I was like, maybe you know I don't like doing this. But I was like, it's okay. I can do it for you. It's like, I can't. I have my other mitt on. I was like, I know. I don't know what it is about that.
I know.
It's just that
The
like you
layers.
do it so many times. But it's handy now that they can like put all their stuff on by themselves. They can get out. I don't necessarily have to be with them. I can just be like, go outside. And they all have to go outside. They know where all their stuff is. They can get it all on. They can go out. They don't need me there with them. So that's nice. I try to go for a walk every day. I haven't been as good with it more recently. And that's most often not with the kids. And they're old enough I can leave them at home now too. So I go for like a walk around the block, or often while they're doing their soccer training, I walk around where they're soccer training. We still
That's
like
super
camping
funny.
together. Sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna, I was just gonna say that's so funny because you're like, I walk around the block. My block would be like 2 minutes, but your block, I've walked it with you. Like it takes like 35 minutes. So it's like, I feel like you're downplaying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like, because we live just outside of Calgary, and so it's not like a normal city block. So, yeah, it takes like at least a good 20, maybe 20 to 30, depending
That's awesome.
how fast you're
That's good.
walking. But yeah. Some days though it's like just to the mailbox, which is really short. Like I can get there and back in like less than 10 minutes, but it's like just like doing something instead of nothing.
Yeah.
We still like to go camping together. This summer, it just seemed like the weather really, really wasn't cooperating with us for our family camping trips. So we had to cancel one because it was just going to be like pouring rain the whole time. And it was like, that doesn't really sound fun. But so I mentioned we do our trip for them turning 13, but I also do a trip when they turn 10. They get to go camping with just me. We go camping for 2 nights and then do something like peaking a mountain, depending on the kids. So with the twins, we went up Grizzly Peak in Kananaskis. With Cosette, we didn't get to the top of a mountain, but we did there's a hot springs that's most of the way up a mountain in Kananaskis called Miss Mountain, and she loves dunking in any water anywhere. So we did that. And then this past summer, I went with my now 10-year-old Petra, and we did Tent Ridge in Kananaskis. And so it was super cool. She really loves sharks, and there's a Mount Shark, but it's like too difficult for a 10-year-old. But you can see it from Tent Ridge. So we did Tent Ridge so we could see Mount Shark. So it's like another like recurring thing that we've like established that we do this like big thing. And now they know like to look forward to it, and it's really fun because we're planning my 12-year-olds. She turns 13 in January. So we're planning her 13-year-old trip for next summer. But yeah, I mean, that's like one thing in a year. But the more often thing is when I just like be like, okay, lunch is done, your chores are done, go outside for at least 20
Mm.
minutes. And usually they end up being longer than that. And they just like go outside and move around.
I love that. They're so
Yeah.
resilient. They can just,
Yeah.
and in all the things that they do throughout their week and day just plays into preparing them for their trips. But I would be curious to hear about the West Coast Trail, if you guys, how you prepared for that with the girls, and if they had done many hikes before that, and yeah, if you felt like that was a good hike to recommend for other 13-year-olds.
Yeah, so with my girls, they had done some backpacking at camp because they went to Crow as well. So that was most of their backpacking experience. And we had done a couple shorter backpacking trips as a family, just without the youngest one. And they had done a lot of, like, they're just really active. They do soccer training like a few times a week all summer long. So they just do a lot, and they like to go biking and stuff. So they didn't do any like formal training for it, I would say, but they did a lot of experiences that prepared them for it. So backpacking at camp and camping as a family, and then just how active they are in general. So for our girls, they crushed it. Like I could barely keep up with them most days. It was like difficult. And we started them off like pretty low weight, and then we were like adding weight to them. Well, we were eating food, so we were like reducing weight, but then we were like taking some stuff out of our packs and adding it to theirs because they were just like crushing it. It was like, I was so impressed with them, and I was really glad that I had been consistent leading up to that, to like even just walking every day, because I think that just like conditioned me better to be able to do it. It's interesting, when they were little, like it wasn't any effort to keep up with them ever. That's not really ever the issue. But now I feel like I need to keep doing things so I can like pace with my kids, like to bike as far as they can bike and hike as far as they can hike. It was a really good time. I really loved it. I think if you have a 13-year-old that's like into that and would think that's a great time, it's totally doable with that age, and probably a bit younger as well, just depending on their fitness level and how much weight they could carry probably. And we lucked out with pretty great weather, so we didn't have to deal with too much misery. So that was good too.
It was the four of you, Mike, and the girls?
Yeah. Yeah, the four of us went.
That's awesome. So cool. Did you have a pretty muddy trail during that time?
It wasn't super muddy because it was like they were going through some drought time. And you can start on either end or 1/3 of the way in. And the start that we were able to book was the 1/3 of the way in. So we missed a little bit of it. But yeah, not crazy muddy at all. And we didn't have any rain. We would wake up with wet tents in the morning, but other than that, it didn't rain on us. So yeah, we lucked out.
Awesome. So with these trips, the birthday trips, do the girls help plan them? Do they give you the idea, or do you kind of know what they want and create the plan? And do they help pack for the trips?
So for the bigger trips, I think we mostly propose something because they just don't always know what's out there. But I know they had been talking to us about being interested in backpacking. And so then Mike and I, neither of us had done the West Coast Trail and had always wanted to as well. So we proposed that and they were like, that sounds amazing. And so then we booked it and made it happen. They helped with packing in some ways for like the bigger ones. I feel like they help with packing more for smaller trip, like getting out just for day things. If we're going out for a day, now I can be like, one of you make lunch and they can make sandwiches, or somebody fill up all the water bottles, someone carry a backpack. We can spread that out. For the longer trips, it's still mostly us managing the logistics, but they were there helping us portion out meals and get everything organized, but we're kind of the brains behind it still. But for shorter day trips, for sure, I can be like, someone make lunch, and they can make lunch for everybody. It's pretty handy.
Yeah. I love that you, like I was saying in the beginning, like you kind of know where the girls are at and you can curate it to them. Like the shark, like seeing the shark peak or the backpacking or the hot springs. Like that's so cool that you take that into account and then plan a beautiful trip with them.
Yeah, it's lots of fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do you have any systems to share with us to make getting out the door easier?
Yeah, I think some of the things that have helped me in all the stages from when they were little to now is having easy food, easy to get to. And I know you always talk about having muffins on hand, and that's exactly the thing. I would try to have like a banana bread loaf frozen in the freezer so we could just grab that out, or just things that are easy to grab. We love the like mini naans, and then we put pesto or cheese or anything on them, but just stuff that's easy to take, to just kind of like eliminate the barriers to getting out. So having easy snack food and picnic food available has been really good. And then like the right gear to fit your needs. So when my kids were little, that stroller, that made so many things able to happen. And then when I had a few more and a baby, I would carry the baby a lot so that we could like move at the pace of like a 5-6-year-old. So I had an ergo carrier and then like the kid carrier, like backpack, having that stuff that makes it easier for you to get out is like super helpful. But I think snacks are key.
I'm all about that. Got lots of snacks to share with you.
Yes. Yeah. So like baking or one of our, I don't know how it happened, but on one hike, Mike ended up having lifesavers and now we call them hike savers. It's like, get to the next corner, everyone gets a lifesaver. And they just like suck on their lifesavers and we keep hiking. And yeah,
Love it.
it's just good stuff to have available. Snacks. For me too. I need them.
All of us. All of us. We need it as much as those kids. If you're looking to hit your protein goals, balance your blood sugar levels, and energize your day, I have just the recipes for you. I have compiled the top high protein snack recipes from my food blog into a mini e-cookbook. They're easy to make with whole food ingredients. Many of the recipes include nuts, hemp hearts, or eggs as the main source of protein. To get this free ebook, go to besidethemountain.com/protein-ebook or check out the show notes below. Would you share about going to Hawaii? I know you've spent quite a lot of time in Hawaii, going on trips there, and I am so impressed by you taking carry-on for all the girls and being there for just carry-on and being there for multiple months. And even, did you take some of your homeschool books too in those small
Yeah,
notes?
we did.
Okay. Yeah, I want to know where that vision came from and yeah, tell us about that trip.
Yeah, so our family altogether has gone to Hawaii 3 times now for like extended trips, so like 2 to 4 months long. We've stayed on the Big Island. So the first time we went was in 2019, and Mike and I had just been talking a lot about wanting kind of a trip that was just like an extended time away to kind of have rest and reset and not have any of our like recurring commitments that we have here that were good things that we were happy to be doing, but just to like get a break where we don't have anywhere we need to be. And also to skip some winter was like one of my biggest motivators because I really wanted to miss some of winter. I like winter
Skip
for a
those
little while.
gloves.
And yes, right? I don't have to tuck in any more gloves.
10 hand or 10 yeah, 10 hands you're putting on for girls
So many
and yours.
gloves.
Yeah.
So to skip some winter, be somewhere warm and just kind of like have a restful time. But also, like, we would continue doing school, and Mike is able to work remotely. So then it makes it easy for us to be able to be somewhere for a longer time because he doesn't have to take that whole time off of work. And because we homeschool, we can bring school with us. So we do kind of pare down our school a bit. So we hit the books hard in September those years, at least in theory, and like try to get stuff done. And then we bring the basics with us to get done while we're there. So we do school and then we just live there. So we do whatever we would do here. But go to beaches instead of the mountains, I guess. Like you said, we've traveled with just carry-ons. It helps. There's 5 kids, so we get 7 carry-ons and 7 personal items. So it is a whole ordeal to get everything packed. But basically, like, I get those kids down to like a capsule wardrobe and just the basics. And then sometimes we hit up a thrift store when we're there and pick up like a couple more shirts or something if we want to. And even their workbooks for school, I'll rip out all the pages they've already finished. So we're just bringing like half the workbook, and then anything that we can do via the computer, we do that. Yeah, just bring the bare minimum stuff. So everyone's like personal item backpack usually has all their clothing and then like their stuff for traveling, headphones and a book and a tablet if they have one and stuff gear or whatever in there. So yeah, it works great. It's been like a really great time. So the first time we went, we just ended up on Big Island because we were looking for somewhere relatively affordable, somewhere English speaking, just because our kids were pretty little and just wanted that to be pretty straightforward, and somewhere with a Costco nearby just to make shopping really easy. And that's how we ended up at Big Island. So we just like were looking at Airbnbs and we found one with like a really deep monthly discount. So we could stay there for 2 months for relatively cheap. and got the whole house and just stayed in the same place. But then we ended up meeting some people there at a local church that we started going to. And so the second 2 times we went, we stayed in a suite belonging to friends. They have a suite in their house. And then we were able to buy a vehicle and then resell it when we left because our friends could help facilitate that. So that made the vehicle cost way lower. And then we do things like any activities that we do here at home. The year we're going to Hawaii, we won't do any year-long commitments, just like monthly ones. So then we're not paying. So at that time, a couple of the kids were in martial arts, and that's just monthly. And then we don't have to pay for that the months that we're away. They didn't do indoor soccer those years. So then we didn't have to pay that for that when they were away. And it just that covers some of the cost of just like extra cost of being there. And then we just try to eat pretty simply. We eat at home a lot. And then it's interesting, like getting outside looks kind of like a different version of here. Like some days it was just like out in the yard. There was this one day, the first trip, one of my twins, so they would have been like 8. Like saying it like you would know, but yeah. She really wanted to like play on the tablet or something. And Mike said to her, he's like, if you run around the house 100 times. And then she did it. She just like started running. And then it was like this fun thing. So a couple other ones started running and they just like laps and laps and laps around the house. And I remember I did a few laps and I Stravaed it so I could see how long it was to figure out like how many kilometers she ran. I forget what it was. But anyways, it's just like, sometimes that's what you do and you just like run laps literally around the house so that you can plan a screen. And some days we would do a day trip to like all the big beaches were on the other side of the island, like hour 45 minutes away. So sometimes it was a day trip over to the beach, spend the day on the beach, watch the sunset, drive home. And sometimes it was just like a walk to the playground and you hang out at the playground. It was just nice to get the summer weather for an extra part of the year because it is easier to get outside in the summer. Just like throw on your sandals and step out there. No tucking mitts into sleeves, nothing. Yeah. Any other questions about Hawaii?
Was your budget for food pretty similar in Canada as it was in Hawaii? Or do you feel like
fairly similar? Yeah. It was probably we probably paid a bit more in Hawaii.
Is that because you went out more or because food was more expensive?
Food is more expensive. So in general, we found if we shopped at Costco, food was a similar dollar amount, but it was in US dollars. But the Costco was on the other side of the island, so we often ended up doing groceries at like Target or Safeway or something, and that was like a bit more expensive. But it wasn't a ton more. We ate a lot. So there was a bakery right by where we were staying there with sourdough bread, and almost every time that we went out, we brought a loaf of bread and peanut butter and jam, and we made sandwiches at the beach, and that was our lunch. We ate that a lot. It was so good.
I love that. I was talking to Daniel recently about how long-term or longer trips can be more affordable in a sense because it's not all that pressure to go out and do all those excursions or have all those special meals or the pressure on time to have to book tickets for things specifically. So it's so nice when, you and I have both had the opportunity for our husbands to work remotely and to make these trips longer and just kind of do life. There's not that pressure on like, okay, we have to make a day trip every single day. We can, have a chill day where you guys can do school or like dad can work or all those different things like that. And so long trips are just so great for that.
I know there's such a different pace. Like I have gone back for like a short trip and Mike and I have gone back on a short trip, just the two of us as well. And it's so different when you're there, like on vacation, when you're like, and then this day I do this and this day I do this. And like sometimes you kind of take one like rest day in there, but when you're there for so long, you just kind of like live there. So if you spend a day, like you said, just hanging out at home, and maybe you go to the playground, you don't feel like you missed out on a chance to like, do something. So it's pretty great. And yeah, once it feels like once we pay to get there, like for the flights, if we stay longer, then it just like makes it feel more worth it. And because we could do school there and Mike could do work there. And then it was nice on our second and third trips, the kids had friends there and we had some community there. So we had people we could spend time with and we would hang out with other people. There was other homeschoolers we found there. So that was really nice to still like have community there, which is something that we weren't expecting on our first trip and something that was really cool to have. Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun to have friends there. It's fun to have like some familiarity and be able to like go cool places. But it's also interesting. We would go places and then I feel like this happens everywhere and here too. People who live there will be like, we've never been there. And I feel like that happens even like here. And it made me coming home, it made me like think, I was like, where have I not gone that's cool like at home? And also I wouldn't even like, I would be fine with driving across the island, hanging out on the beach and driving back. But when I'm home, I'm like, oh, I don't want to drive that far. But it's interesting, like the different mindset even, and just like remembering I can like do those things. And it was partly because like we had no commitments when we were there. Like we never had to be anywhere like for piano lessons or soccer or anything that we do here. So we could just like take off and not have other things going on.
It's so true. I feel like I'm just entering that stage where there's like more commitments on a weekly basis, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I don't know if I like this, but soccer twice a week. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I do feel like I'm in a stage of driving kids places. So
totally.
That's right.
And I think it's so cool on those longer trips where you've done it a repeat place that they can make friends and kind of a community. I have been thinking about that with our kids, and like as they've been young, it's awesome to go to all these different places with them. But I think it would be so cool to kind of have a community, a church, friend group in another place where it's like on repeat and the kids can know that that's like where also they belong. And yeah, I think that's really cool what you guys did in Hawaii. Okay, I want to know, these are the questions that I ask everyone at the end of the podcast. What encouragement do you have for other moms to explore more?
All right. I feel like I have a few things. Like first is like find a friend to do stuff with. It's a lot more fun to like go for a walk with someone else or meet somebody at the playground and just kind of like do that together. And it also gives you some accountability to get out. So I've had lots of people, but sometimes it's someone without kids too. And that can be like really nice to have someone who's like, I love pushing on the swing and going up and down the slide or whatever it is. And also with other moms, because you can just like be like right in that together, I think is really cool. And I think it helps to like create patterns and traditions. So like have a weekly thing you do, have daily things, have a yearly thing, have like things that you can plan, bigger things and smaller things. And like remember that like little things count. Like getting out doesn't have to be going to the mountains and going for a day hike. It can be like sitting on your deck and eating a snack. And like it all counts. Like you can't be like, I'm not doing it. Like you're doing it. You're getting outside. And also like in the same sense, like remember there's seasons. There's been seasons in our life where I'm like, I haven't even like stepped outside in like 4 days. And it's like, what am I doing? It's right there. But it's just like different seasons with kids, your kids' ages, or maybe like sickness or busyness and just different things happening. And I just feel like you just have to like embrace the season you're in and do what you can with it, and be thankful for what you can do. And knowing, I think about this a lot with Hawaii because we've gone every other year and this year we're not going. And it's like, it's great that was so good for the season it was in. And the fact that we're not going this year doesn't mean it wasn't good for the season before.
Mm.
So when things change, it's like that was good in that time and now something else is good in this time, but that doesn't take away from something being good in another time. You can also have grace for yourself in different times where you can move at a different pace and do different things. So, and also we mentioned this before, but doing a bigger thing, it always feels like a lot and it's pretty much almost always worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while you'll hit a dud or the kids are just not cooperating with you, but little trips are great, but like it's so good. I always feel great when I like challenge myself and I do a bigger thing and just make it happen and housework gets behind or we end up eating McDonald's maybe, but like sometimes other things gotta give and but you can make it happen. So, and pack snacks.
Love that. That's so encouraging. So many good tidbits in there. Thank you, Megan. Lastly, can you tell us your favorite trip or your favorite place you've been with your kids?
Oh man, this one is so hard. It's so hard because I just love getting out with all of them and like I'm always impressed with what they can do. So like I have a couple. I'm cheating.
Okay.
West Coast Trail was really awesome. It was really great to have like time with just a couple of them and to like push all of us and it was just beautiful. It's an amazing trail. And all of the like 10-year-old trips. Like just one-on-one time is really fun. Doing something that really pushes them has been really fun. But one of my favorite hikes is in Hawaii that we've done and it's not crazy long. It's called Kilauea Iki. And you start at the top of this crater that doesn't have lava in it anymore. And you hike down through the rainforest and then across the lava field and then back up through the rainforest. And it's so cool. It's one of my favorites. And it's just, I also remember the first time we did it, we were at the top and it was kind of raining and we're like, should we do this? And we're like, yeah, let's just go for it. It was all 7 of us. And we did it and the sun came out and it was like the perfect weather. And it's just like this great memory and this super cool, unique thing. But I also love like, see, I told you I'm cheating. I have too many. Just like anytime I think of like any camping trip we've done together or even like a bike ride together or a ski trip together, like I like them all. And even like close ones, like going out to Kananaskis and biking around through the trails there. It's always a good time. So
all the trips.
I don't really have one favorite. It's too hard.
Any trip is awesome with your kids because you planned it and
yeah.
you know. Yeah, I love it. But that does give me inspiration for the Big Island. Sounds amazing.
It's great. If you're ever going to Big Island, hit me up. I can tell you all the places.
Aww. Thank you for all of that. We will write down all the places that you mentioned and we can kind of write down a resource list of places that we talked about. But thank you so much for chatting and being willing to be interviewed and share about your journey with your kids from little and to now where they are at. And I think that was so cool for me to just hear that even in the little years when there was a lot of them and just a lot of going on and you maybe didn't do as much or didn't feel like you did as much in the terms of like trips and outdoor adventures, that now it's turning into something else and the kids love those passions that you put on hold maybe for a little bit and you're going after it and it's not lost in what you said. It's good in that season and it's good in this season and they're different seasons, but it still exists. So thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening today. I am so inspired by Megan's creativity in her birthday trips and how she tackles going to different countries with her kids for multiple months. I'm so inspired about how she does homeschool that way. If you want to ask Megan any more questions or connect with her further, she is in our Facebook group. The link is in our show notes to come on over there. If you're loving what you're hearing, it would mean so much to me if you take 2 seconds to either share this episode with a friend, give it a star review and a rating, a star review and a comment, or share it on socials. Those ways are all amazing ways to connect this podcast to more outdoor moms. Okay, have a beautiful day. Talk to you soon.